Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. A work program is planned for our Finland property that contains diamond-bearing kimberlite. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ADD, and the Frankfurt Exchange, symbol 82A1. Please visit our website at arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman, Communications Director for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
The Site C Dam getting a reluctant approval by the NDP government of British Columbia. Your take on their yes to the plan?
Well, better late than never for John Horgan. I'm not going to lie to you, around here at ICBA, we were popping champagne corks and tearing up pink slips and really celebrating with our members and our the many Get to Yes supporters who helped us send in thousands and thousands of support letters to the Premier and other officials. So yeah, for us, we're thrilled. We're a little concerned about some of the language around the labor side of things, but those are fights to have, and we can start having with them next week. But when a government changes its mind and does the right thing, to its own political cost, you have to applaud them for it.
Is one of the things governments ignore when you have mega projects is the fact that because of income tax and sales taxes and so on, that they get a lot of this money back.
Yeah, a portion does flow back. That's correct. Sales tax is another way governments collect money back. That is a component of it. So the cost can be, if you're actually looking at the all-in costs and calculating, it might be a little bit lower. But listen, it's hard to put into terms just what a colossal flip-flop or back down or whatever you want to call it. We would call it sobering up. But this was for the NDP party. I mean, you had John Horgan. At one point, he paid $100 to support the anti-Site C movement. That got him a little yellow stick on the year where the dam is being constructed. A stake in the piece, it was called, at that fundraiser. He's the guy who was holding up a Site C sucks sign with the farmer Ken Boone there, whose land has been expropriated. Michelle Mungal participated in many protests. Lana Popham threatened to walk out of NDP caucus if it was ever approved. David Eby was very opposed to Site C. I mean, George Heyman. The list goes on, and all of these guys had to back down and really come to terms with the fact that they had to do this. And, if you've been on social media at all this week, in any of the political areas, they are taking an absolute beating from people who, claim to have voted for them in the last election.
Well, wasn't it really a case, though, that they had spent so much money on the dam that really, to remediate it, you'd spend almost as much to get nothing out of it as you would to complete it? Yeah,
look, Clark said all along she wanted to get this dam to the point of no return. She did. The math never worked to try to stop it now. $2 billion spent, $2 billion to remediate. All this nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense from the anti-Site C people about, remediation could only take $500 million and nature would take care of it, blah, blah, blah. None of that was really an effective argument. And the bottom line was, the NDP, having already brought the Port Mann debt onto the provincial books, simply didn't have the space to bring on the Site C cancellation onto the books, not without completely sacrificing every other major project they wanted to do. So, the bad news is the NDP has plans to borrow a lot of money over the next few years to build stuff and to run childcare programs and things like that. That's the bad news. But the good news is, at least the Site C Dam isn't one of those projects.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
Glance Technologies owns and operates Glance Pay, a disruptive mobile payment technology now live in 16 cities in Canada and about to launch in the US. With revenues up 664% in the last quarter, Glance Technologies has the potential to be a worldwide leader in an industry projected to grow to $1.3 trillion in 3 years. Glance Technologies stock symbols are GLNFF in the US and GET in Canada. Find out more at glancepay.com.
Lotus Ventures Inc. is a BC-based medical marijuana company poised to launch into the rapidly evolving cannabis sector. Lotus is in the final review stage of the Health Canada approvals to become a licensed producer, having arranged facility financing of up to $12 million, plus building permits for its prototype indoor production facility. Shares trade under the symbol J on the Canadian Securities Exchange. Visit our website at lotusventures.ca.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, what kind of long-term benefits should British Columbia see with the Site C project going ahead?
Well, it sends a signal to investors that not all hope is lost in British Columbia when it comes to major capital infrastructure or responsible resource development projects. It's been a pretty grim run for BC. Pipelines canceled, LNG projects canceled. BC was starting to get a reputation as a place where not only, where it was hard to get to yes, and it was even harder to stick to yes. This at least shows that, something big can be built in the province, so that's a positive signal. One of the things we're doing at ICBA is we have a website called Get the Yes. It's get2yes.ca. And on it we have, big projects, construction projects that people can support. Projects we want to see get approved by government or greenlit by various companies. The problem we're having now is that a lot of those projects have been canceled and dropped off that list. And there isn't a lot more private investment coming into the province or wanting to come into the province. So yeah, you get rid of Petronas LNG, you lose that project, but there isn't like a long line of other LNG people who want to come in and try investing billions of dollars into the economy. There's a couple of mines and there's things like that, but nothing as significant as we were seeing with the interest 4 or 5 years ago. So for us, we want to get behind projects that, create construction jobs. So obviously the Patello Bridge, the Massey Bridge, some of the transit lines, all that stuff. But at the same time, you want to keep pushing LNG forward. You want to get this pipeline built, and people working on it. We're a bit concerned at the lack of private investment in British Columbia.
It's hard to get private money. Is there any way for the NDP to show that they're open for business, or are they?
Well, they got to quit fighting things like Kinder Morgan. I was reading an article today about the price of oil out of the oil sands. It's dropped, and one of the reasons it's dropped is they've had to offer big discounts because getting the oil out of Alberta is so darn hard. The current pipelines are all at capacity. They're shipping more and more by rail, but there's only so many trains you can run. And frankly, you shouldn't be shipping oil by train anyways. If you're concerned about environmental issues, that would be an easy thing to fix. But what's the message there, right? We have these resources, we have all this stuff, but the NDP government continues to fight it. It's frustrating. I don't want to give them too hard a time on a week where they, did manage to do the right thing on Site C, but at the same time, you can't let them off the hook for their strange opposition to the Kinder Morgan pipeline.
Don't you think it was kind of weird they were against hydro and against oil at the same time?
Yeah, that's the biggest fallacy of these anti-Site C people is, many of them are opposed to hydroelectricity, they're opposed to oil, they're opposed to natural gas, they're opposed to everything, except, solar and wind, which, obviously has a place in BC's energy makeup and future, but, you just can't be opposed to every other form of energy in order to make those happen.
Well, I always wonder when the protesters show up, how do they get there? What kind of transportation? And did they notice that they're mostly wearing rubber-soled shoes? Yeah,
well, exactly. They're taking pictures on their plastic iPhones, and it's impossible to get away from everything oil and gas has done. In fact, there's this weird thing right now going around where some environmental groups are trying to convince municipalities to launch lawsuits against big oil companies, based on kind of the idea that, the big tobacco model, where, oil has been so hurtful to communities' growth that we should be suing oil companies to get that money back. But they completely ignore all the benefits of oil. I've kind of felt like one of these oil companies should countersue one of these municipalities and say, actually, you owe us for all the economic prosperity that our product has developed here. Like, you can't just tag the negative things. You have to look at the benefits that come along with energy.
Well, I look at everything here in my office, the computer screen, the computer case, my chair, they're all made out of plastic. And that's all stuff that came out of the ground.
No, exactly. We talk about the green economy. Well, the green economy relies on oil just like, oil and gas companies do. Like, you just can't get away from these things. And that's where the hypocrisy really comes in. There's a kind of a recurring theme on the internet where, if climate change is such an important issue, like, as guys like Al Gore says, why don't they actually live like it is? And for David Suzuki, for example, we would challenge him, right? If this really is, the life-threatening issue you say it is, why aren't you living that way? Like, why aren't you getting rid of all of the plastic products? Why aren't you doing more by Skype than you do by traveling around on, carbon-spewing airplanes and buses? So it's a frustration to us because, we have these people who say one thing but clearly live another.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after the break.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp. Inc., MGI on the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected high-grade gold, including 16.9 meters of 13.58 grams and 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program is planned to further evaluate previously identified subsurface high-grade gold mineralization. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, what kind of rumors and innuendos and so on are you hearing about the BC Liberal leadership race?
Well, hearing a few things. First of all, membership sales are not as robust as they were in 2011. So, obviously in 2011, the race to replace Gordon Campbell, that person was to become the Premier of British Columbia. So there was a lot of interest, a lot more interest in that leadership race. Now you're becoming leader of the opposition. You're going to be in year 2 of a 4-year, mandate for the NDP. It's quite conceivable it could be years before we see another election. So the interest isn't quite there. Now, what I do hear is that Diane Watts' team has been out selling memberships fairly successfully. I hear that Michael Lee's team also very strong on the membership sales. Haven't heard the same about Todd Stone's, and then Andrew Wilkinson's doing a little bit better than Stone, but not quite as good as Watts or Lee. So, the question becomes, how will this all shake out? And one of the kind of little-known facts about this race is that you don't get to vote for just one person. You actually have to vote for 3. You rank them, and then they drop off until someone hits 50% plus 1. That will change the dynamic as well. And what you'll see now is people talking very nicely about each other, trying to court each other's second and third place votes. And, if I was kind of handicapping the race, I'd say, probably Diane Watts and Andrew Wilkinson 1-2, with Stone and Lee kind of fighting for third place. But, whichever one of those guys finished third has a pretty decent chance of, moving up, splitting kind of down the middle. I think they're more likely to pick up second and third place votes than Diane Watts or Andrew Wilkinson. But still early days. There's a couple more debates in January. Voting happens at Super Bowl weekend, February 3rd, 2nd and 3rd. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Can people vote online or by mail?
Oh boy, you're asking me the tricky questions here. I believe they can vote online. I think that's how the voting happens. And there might be a mail option as well.
Because it's never really a good idea to hold an event opposite the Super Bowl.
No, and they're not. They're going to determine the leader on Saturday. So originally it was supposed to be Sunday. Quite wisely, everyone said, "What, are you nuts?" Because of course, the Green Bay Packers will be playing in that Super Bowl now that Aaron Rodgers is back. So what's a guy like me going to do? He's got to watch the Pack. So no, the Super Bowl mix-up was corrected very quickly. One would wonder why they can't Google calendars before they do stuff, but better late than never on that.
Not much talk about Sam Sullivan?
No, Sullivan's kind of considered an idea guy, maybe kind of the Michael Chong of the race, but his ideas aren't exactly catching wildfire with the rest of the membership that I've seen. Certainly don't hear anything about him signing up new members. And I think Sam himself has talked about how he wanted to be in the race in order to kind of spark ideas and debate more so than, an actual legitimate chance at winning.
What are the big issues they're talking about?
Well, it's all housing, affordability. Basically what they got their butts kicked on in the last election in Lower Mainland. The problem is, and this is kind of the dirty truth that no one wants to talk about in politics, is that there is no easy solutions on housing. There is no magic bullet that's going to suddenly bring housing back into the realm of normal people to afford. This has been a problem in Vancouver for generations. The property transfer tax that we all hate was brought in partly to address foreign speculation. It didn't work. We have this new foreign investors tax. It's not working. And the bottom line is, anytime you retract the housing market, if housing values start to drop, people are losing equity, there's going to be people who suffer because of it. So, such a tricky thing, and I think the NDP have realized it now, because all these easy solutions that David Eby was touting before the election have kind of gone very, very quiet.
Well, Vancouver, too, the city allowing a so-called affordable housing project to be built. Well, the rents that they plan to charge are exactly the same as what the market has. 3 bedrooms going for $3,300 a month. That's the same as the commercial rate, yet they're letting the developer off on $2.5 million worth of social benefits that normally would go to the city.
Yeah, I'm not completely up to speed on that file, but this is part of the problem when governments get involved in housing. They're not very good at it. We don't elect governments based on how they're going to manage housing. Maybe we should have been. Governments are very good at laying sewer pipes and, managing the water system and picking up your garbage, but these kind of bigger, broader issues, frankly, they just don't have the expertise or talent to handle it. And, you've seen that ever so clearly in Vancouver, which, kind of bumbled through Olympic Village stuff and then bumbled through the broken homelessness pledge and, now is, seeing housing and rental rates shoot through the roof. Government just isn't good at this kind of stuff because they're not, nimble enough and they don't have the skills that are necessary.
Wouldn't one way to increase affordable housing is build SkyTrain out into the valley where there's still lots of land where you could put high rises?
Yeah, you could. That would increase pressure on the agricultural land. So, at some point we're going to have a conversation in this province about, whether it's really smart to have 78% of the township of Langley in the agricultural land reserve, and producing very little as far as crops go, while, driving up the price of housing. These are the kind of conversations that future generations will have. They're going to be painful and, difficult, but, that's something that probably someone should talk about.
Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Jordan Bateman, Communications Director for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. Their website, icba.ca. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.